Greetings, everyone. This is Tigri Gardenia. I'm oh, breathing again, which is I've been breathing the last few days, but it's been really, really busy here. So for those of you that don't know me, I'm a communications and business development consultant, mainly for creative and entrepreneurs and nature-based business leaders. So what I call naturepreneurs. My work consists in really turning great ideas into successful dream projects. So I use my extensive background in high tech, in the arts, and biomimicry, nature, and many other different pieces to do that. So if you followed me at all or you know who I am, you know I have a passion for the plant world and for plant music, and I use plants a lot to build projects, to build inspirations, places, business inspired, basically anything that can be inspired by nature's 3.8 billion years of ingenuity. So that's kind of my big target and what I go for. I study their successful strategies and partnerships, really looking to replicate what the plant world and what nature in general has done in order to create successful, abundant projects and that are sustaining life. So as you're tuning in, please say hello. Tell me who you are. I'd love to know who you are, what you're doing, and if you have any ideas that you'd love to develop. Um, so another piece of information about me that you might not know is that I live in Damanhur, which is one of the largest spiritual eco communities in the world. We're located in northern Italy, and it's a big point of focus of my life. It's a beautiful experience living in community, and there's many different aspects that are different. And in the last few weeks, we've had a number of different guests, and it's really been an interesting experience this time, as it is with every single time. We have guests that come and visit us throughout the year, and I also put together groups and help retreat leaders put together groups that come to Damanhur and visit what is the temples of humankind, the Sacred Woods Temple, and many other of the magical aspects. And recently I've had a number of guests that have been good friends, collaborators, especially two in particular, hi Sam and Klaus, if you're watching, that are people that I work very closely with now. And we've been having these really interesting conversations. Damanhur is such an unusual reality that it's really beautiful to be able to see it through their eyes. To some people that come here are really deep on their spiritual journey already. Others are just starting. Some are not even sure why they've been called here, but they feel that they've been called here. And these two people in particular, these collaborators of mine, of which I've known now for a while, really opened me up to a topic that, well, let me be honest with you guys, caused me a crap load of problems when I was first starting out my career. So, and the topic is really simple: idealism. Your ideals, your principles, your values. Most of us go into business world with these ideas of how we're going to change the world. We go in, whether you go in independently, whether you go in through some major company, but really most of us graduate from college or finish out our high school, step into the professional world, and we're really thinking how we're going to make a difference. How am I going to leave a trace? And that's a big topic here in Damanhur, because obviously by living here in this magical community, we really want to leave a trace. We have a mission we want to accomplish. Each one of us has to discover our personal mission and how that fits into the greater mission. And it's a pretty intense mission, and it's something that's extremely important to us, something we sort of use as the point in which we compare everything we have to do. Like, our priorities are based on that mission. And it's not always easy to see, because if you were to go into regular business and you look at what are the principles and what is it that really drives it? Of course, many of us would think what drives it is money, and that is definitely one piece of it. But like, for example, Damanhur is driven by a whole series of other things, and it makes it very difficult for people to sometimes understand some of our choices and our decision making. But it's really interesting to kind of say, okay, well, as a business person, right, I have my ideals, my principles, and my values. But how do those really fit into the real world? Because when you start to work, you realize that many industries are actually have kind of gone off track. Let's be honest. They've gone off track. They've gone off track environmentally. They've gone off track economically. For many people, what makes good economy doesn't necessarily make good environmental or ecological or even emotional, sense. I mean, I remember when I used to work at Microsoft, Microsoft at that time had a divorce rate that was higher than the national average, right? Not because people weren't doing great work, not because people were being driven, like told that they had to do it. On some hands, they were because they were so passionate about what they were doing that they were spending hours and hours and hours at work. Well, there, of course, were people who were just chasing the almighty dollar. So it's not even that easy of a blanket statement. You can't just say, well, people who are in big business and who are working 12 hours a day, it's always negative. That's not true. I mean, the truth of the matter is that passion is driven by many different things. But the question is whatever it is that you're passionate about and that you're trying to follow something that's really filling you up emotionally, that's really helping you to achieve your greater goals that are beyond just money? Like, you want to be abundant. And I really do believe that you can be spiritual and abundant. I mean, I'm a good example of that. I mean, I've been living my spirituality hardcore in the sense that, I made a conscious choice many, many years ago that I was going to no longer hide in a closet and I was going to start living my spirituality. And I've been following that path and I have had very, lots of success. And I felt it when I was at Microsoft. I felt it when I owned Infinite Connections. I felt it when I was teaching Kabbalah through Eternal Light Energy. I feel it today as Tigrila Gardenia and here at Damanhur. I really do believe that we have an international disease, which is that we think that spirituality can't mean abundance, and they can go together. But that doesn't mean I have to compromise my principles, because I truly believe that the universe provides based on what you really want to accomplish in life. And I bring up, in this talk, I was thinking about something a friend of mine taught me that in reality, let's be honest, I'll share it with you. She taught it to me relating to relationships. So Ada, if you're watching this, and a few others of my friends and my girlfriends, we've talked about this, which is the famous deal breaker list. And I've adapted that deal breaker list for business because I feel like it's extremely important. I keep meeting people who are physically getting themselves ill, especially when it comes to your, digestive system and your intestines, all the area that is considered the second mind, or in some ways the first mind, because it's the one that has the biggest impact. I keep having people come to Damanhur for our amazing health resources, for all of our healing, for the spiritual healers and the traditional medicine that's integrated into a full holistic approach. I have tons of friends of mine that are coming here for this, and I'm glad. It really does warm my heart that Damanhur is able to provide this for people. But I want people to take a step back and think about the preventative medicine. And one thing that you could do is your deal breaker list. And this is about business. I mean, of course, like I said, there's one relating to relationships, but let's talk about business. Do you know what your business deal breakers are? In other words, what are the types of ideals that you will not compromise no matter what? What are the principles and the values that you feel are important? For example, myself, as somebody who's very into the nature and into the ecological world, I won't work anymore with companies that are doing things that I believe are harmful, willfully harmful for the environment. I believe a lot that there's a lot of ignorance. I definitely work with lots of people, lots of individuals and companies that are on a journey and that really want to open their eyes. But if when they open their eyes, they see it and they say, I don't care, for me, that's an absolute deal breaker. I'm not interested in it. I don't want to work with you in that aspect. I only want people who are willing to go that route. And so therefore, it's extremely important that you know what your business deal breakers are. You have to know what it is that you're willing to step away from and say, no matter how much money you give me, and I'm not going to do that. So, like you said, these are important aspects. I see Saskia wrote a question here where I love you. I'm so happy that you're watching, where she said, so how do you have your proverbial cake and eat it too with these two diverse goals? Like, what's abundance and what's spirituality? What's your ideals versus wanting to make good business? And this is entirely part of that process, that part of that, okay, I don't want to be too rigid. Like I have a few friends of mine, Sam, I'm talking about you, who's extremely rigid on his ideals. And I used to be that way too. I mean, I definitely pissed off a lot of people in the beginning of my career because I was ideal. But you got to remember that not everybody is stupid. Not everybody is doing it because they willingly do not care. Sure, there's a few narcissists out there, and yeah, there's a few psychopaths out there. But in reality, the majority of people are trying to do good. And if you sit back and you listen, if you really listen to them, then you're going to see the good that they want to do. And together you're going to be able to come up with a plan. And that means that you can't sit on the sideline. You cannot try to tell people from the outside what to do. You want to change the world, you got to roll up your sleeves and you got to get in there. And you've got to get in there knowing what your ideals are, knowing what it is that you want to teach, and you need to work with the people in order to change the way things happen. And that way you create harmony. You need to talk the same language. You need to understand the values, because sometimes somebody who does something that's completely the opposite from you, when you sit down and you talk about the values, they're actually trying to achieve the exact same thing. They just have a different way of seeing it. And if you talk about the main value and then you look at how the steps are to get there, I'm sure you're going to find a way to do it. And if not, then you need to step away from it and realize that the only way for you to make a change to that kind of person is to take away all their power. And the way you take out the power is by not engaging in it anymore and really stepping out of that situation. So there's a whole series of things around this topic that's extremely important for the ideal person, especially the ideal person who's making themselves sick. Because you can't do anything when you're filled with disease, because your ideals are blocking you from being able to see the solutions. And this is when you need to take a step back, understand what your deal breaker list, look at the problems that you're not willing to solve, because right now you can't solve everything. You need to find, though, instead the ones you're willing to get in there, roll up your sleeves and do the work. So these are the kinds of things that really I work with a lot of people on, especially some of my ideal clients. How exactly do you create a strategy plan and a plan of action that's going to get you to the goal you want to get to, is going to keep you away from the people that you just really are not willing to go there and they're not willing to learn about it? How do you make money and be sustainable and be abundant in that process? And these are all the things that you need to learn if you want to create a business that's going to make a change, if you really want to be a change maker. And more than anything, you need to take care of yourself. You need to take care of your health. You need to take care of who you are. And sometimes that means losing one of the battles in order for you to win the greater war. And so these are all different aspects that come together in a package that need to be addressed when you're going into these change maker type of roles, which is mainly what I work with. It's mainly what we are. We're here to make a change. So as we're going into the end of the year, this is a great time for you to reevaluate where you are, what direction you want to take for 2019. So I'm going to be offering some holiday discounts and some gift cards, so watch this space. But if you want to look over what you have accomplished this year and you want to look at a new strategy for reaching your ideals in a healthy way, in a way that is about really collaboration and that feminine energy, not women necessarily, but feminine energy, that collaborative way. If you want to look for a new strategy in 2009, I'm going to put a link in the description for a free 30-minute chat, and just sign up and let's talk about it. Okay. Let's talk about what's the best way for you to create a happy, healthy, and abundant 2019 where you really are bringing a change into the world. All right. So I've got to go now because I've got a client and I'm a minute behind, and I will be talking to you soon. Bye.